Welcome to the Stewardship Leader Podcast, brought to you by the Christian Stewardship Network. CSN exists to encourage, teach, and connect church and stewardship leaders to help them create and lead healthy stewardship ministries in their church. You can learn more about CSN at ChristianStewardshipNetwork.com. Well, hey everyone, welcome to Stewardship Leader. I'm your host, Leo Sabo. And today I have the pleasure of having not just a stewardship leader, but also a very good friend. We've known each other for a long time. We've worked together on the same team for many years. And this is a man I trust. He has a huge passion for stewardship. In fact, what we want to talk about today is something that has evolved over time, an app that he's developed. And we want to dig into that, talk about what it is, how you guys can have access to it, and what he hopes this app will actually mean and what it'll accomplish. And I'm very excited for what he's going to share with us. This is something he's been working on for a long time. Let me introduce him. His name is Gless. He is the stewardship pastor at Res Life Church, and he oversees the Generous Life ministry there. Greg has been a stewardship leader for many years, but he's served at Res Life now as a stewardship leader 5 years since he started this role, and he's done some amazing things there. Definitely would love for you to check out the website of their church and what they're doing. I think they have a great website and they offer a lot of ministry opportunities for their members, and something that you can learn from if you want to see how a ministry might look, especially from an outside-in perspective. Definitely check that out. But Greg, thank you so much for taking the time, first of all, to be on the podcast, and also for all the work you've done with Generous Life app. Love to get into that. But say hello to everybody. And again, thanks for being here.
Yeah, well, Leo, thanks for having me. I'm super excited and appreciate you making an opportunity for us to be able to introduce this to everyone. It's like you mentioned, it's something we've been working on for quite some time, in the background. And it's kind of fun. We've used Res Life a little bit like a laboratory, trying things, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, all with the heart to be able to create like a discipleship path that people can plug into no matter where they're at financially and help them meet where they're at and then continue to grow in their stewardship and generosity. To be sitting here and talking about it today is super exciting.
Yeah. I know you started working on this a while back and you connected with me and we talked about it. And I got to be honest, at first I was thinking like, wow, that's a huge project you're about to take on. But so I give you a lot of credit. I've thought about creating an app before, more of a budgeting app. And once I started doing the research, I thought, yeah, that's going to take over my life. I can't do that. I'm called to something different, but I do give you a lot of credit for what you've done so far. I've been on the app. I've experienced it myself. And that's why really we want to promote it here, because we do believe it could be very helpful for other churches and, of course, their members. So why don't you start with, first of all, why did you start the app? I mean, obviously, you're a busy guy. You've got a full-time role at Res Life. You got a lot of people to serve, a team to lead, a staff to equip. Why do this? Tell me the heart behind it.
Well, it's like you said, when you were looking at doing an app and you said, hey, I'm just not called to it. Well, the only thing I could say is I was called to it because the Lord just won't leave me alone about it, I guess, is really what it boils down to. And really, from what I've seen in doing stewardship ministry for so long, I know the impact, it's had for me personally, but for the folks that we minister to. And to have the opportunity to do it on a broader scale is super exciting. I know, too, having been a part of CSN for a while, and when we're at the forums or different events like that, one of the common themes, at least that the Lord highlights to me, is that stewardship leaders are looking for like a clear discipleship path, what kinds of courses to offer to take people on a journey. So what I heard was, all right, Greg, you might be on the right path, that you might be creating something that will be a blessing to the body of Christ. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I love the fact that you said that the Lord won't leave you alone, that it is a calling. And I think that's important for us, because if we do something strictly because we think it's a good idea, when we hit those hard spots in that process, we tend to be like, maybe it wasn't a great idea. But if it's a calling, then we're going to push through those. And I've certainly seen you do that. So tell me, what's the objective? What's the ministry objective? Because I know this is obviously geared toward people, biblical principles on managing money and everything that might encompass, but it has a ministry component. It's not just a practical app, but obviously that's what's driving you. So what is that objective? What do you hope to gain?
Yeah. So really the vision for the whole ministry, and the app is actually a ministry. So we've basically taken a stewardship ministry and put it inside of an app. It's a separate nonprofit, so it's not associated with any church or organization. It's a standalone, and it just has its own Generous Life branding. So so that anyone could use it. But basically, the goal is there's kind of two phases. The first phase is we want to gather a group of generous Christians, either those that are currently generous or those that God has given the gift of giving and want to grow in generosity, and basically equip them, come alongside them, and help them get completely debt free. And then along that way, we're providing the practical tools, but we're also giving them the spiritual insights, teaching, courses, workshops, things that are really driving home biblical kingdom concepts, so those can get down into their heart and make a difference in their lives. And then the second phase, once we have this group financially free, then what we'll have is a group of people, of a like heart, a like mind, a shared vision, where we can actually go after making an impact towards completing the Great Commission. So we've got some plans around how to actually do that. So it's a way that I think all this generous Christians always want to make an impact, but this is a way for us to actually do it, to actually gather together and make an outsized impact, more so than what we could if we were just trying to do it on our own or even as just a single church.
Yeah, so you'll probably get into this later, but I guess what I'm hearing you say is you want to help people become financially free so that they can be more generous, which is the outflow of, good stewardship leads to more generosity, more kingdom focus and mindset as far as building the kingdom of God, accomplishing the Great Commission. Am I hearing that right? That's kind of the goal.
And if you're not, if you are currently financially free, being able to connect you, and we'll get into that, I guess, about the whole community element that's a part of the app, where you get to connect with some of your peers, people that are in a similar place financially. So even if you are already doing great financially, this is a place where you could go and connect with people in a similar season of life, a similar season financially, and be able to start to do some cool things there. But also, if you're not in a great place financially, this can start to give you a vision for where you could head to, start to plant the seeds of, what, if I were financially free and these monies were freed up, boy, look what we could do together. So it's both sides.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So how long have you been up to this? How long have you been doing it?
Yeah, so
especially
really,
with the app, I mean.
Yeah, so specifically the app, we've been working on it. I say we, it's really me. We've hired some help along the way to do some of the video editing and some things like that to work on the courses. But basically been working on it for now, going on about a year and a half or so. Really got the vision for it probably 3-4 years ago. Our church is part of a network of churches. And part of the goal when I came on board 5 years ago was, let's find something that works here that could be repeatable. And then just kind of praying through, how can we make this repeatable? Well, the idea of the app the Lord kind of gave that idea, and he's like, okay, now we can make it available to these other churches, but then go even broader than just this network potentially.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good, because when you do have a network of churches, or let's say a church with many campuses, 15, 20, it can seem like every campus is a little bit different, and not every campus can offer the same thing. But I can see how an app can bring all that together, right? You can offer the same teaching that's consistent across all campuses or the whole network of churches. You can also ensure that there's a path that people can follow, so that if the church, specific campus or specific church, doesn't have the manpower, somebody on staff that can really head this, or it's just they're not equipped yet to do it to the level that they want to do it, the app can come in and really provide that literally day one. Plus, it has this potential to go beyond just the walls of the church, which is fantastic for reaching your community, reaching the unchurched. All right, so tell us about the main features of the app.
Yeah, so it's really built around 3 main features: financial tools, as you can imagine. There's also classes and content, courses, workshops, that kind of thing. And then there's the third piece, which is really important, is the community element. So looking at the financial tools piece first, it's kind of what you would imagine from any regular type of financial app that really helps you with the more practical pieces of it. You can connect your bank accounts. You can build budgets. You can get real-time updates on where you're at, on your budget versus actual. Through our partnership with our data provider there, they also provide financial insights, which are really fun. It's personalized insights based on your actual transaction history and the actual area where you live. So you'll get notified when there's opportunities to save money or good deals going on. So that's pretty fun. The provider says on average that a user could save between $50 and $100 every month using the insights. And then other than just those types of insights, there's like notifications around like, hey, you have these subscriptions that you have. Or do you want to continue them? Certain things that might prompt you to to take a look at your finances and maybe make some adjustments or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the financial piece, and they're really the world-class tools. They're used by some of the bigger banks to offer private label type of solution. In addition to those financial tools, we've also built like a checklist that shows our different steps towards financial freedom, the discipleship pathway. And so there's tools that you can print out or use it within the app that will help you keep track of where you're at, what your next step is. There are also some things that you can print out, like goal trackers that you can fill out, like if you're on a savings goal or if you're on a goal to pay off a certain debt. So things that you can do within the app, but also some things that you could print out and use outside of the app to help keep the momentum going.
That's really good for those who really want to put their hands on things, right? Especially when it comes to like tracking expenses and those kinds of things. Sometimes doing that manually, it just gives you that personal touch that really helps you to stick with it. Where it's sometimes when it's electronic, we know that tends to be sometimes somewhat removed, and for some people that just doesn't work. So I love that you have that option. Very good.
Yep. Amen. So the second feature is the courses. So within the we're using 7 steps to financial freedom because every good Christian personal finance related thing has to be 7 steps. But anyway, there's 7 steps to financial freedom, and you can kind of imagine step 1 is, you're in debt and you're really struggling, and then all the way through 7 where you're doing great financially and you're able to be generous and give on every good occasion. Yep. So the 7 steps take you through there. There's practical things to do within each of the steps. There's spiritual truths that we want to make sure that we're embedding in each of those 7 steps as well. Things that each user is getting put into their heart, so that we have a consistent discipleship path. Yeah. The courses, they begin with a course called Kingdom Finances, a 4-week course. It is very much just scriptural theology type of teaching to really establish a foundation and a baseline where we can all get in agreement. Here's what the word says, and really gets the truth out there. And then we transition into what we call a financial freedom workshop, which is a 6-week workshop or 6 lessons, because within the app, someone could walk through that class in modules. Each of the classes are built into bite-sized modules, and people could do it at their own pace and make progress as they go. But once they're in there and doing those classes in the financial freedom workshop, that one is built it mirrors the journey of the Israelites being in debt and in bondage in Egypt, making their trek through the desert, and then eventually making it to the promised land. And so it mirrors that journey. There's some cool spiritual lessons within each of those steps that are part of the Israelites' journey that are really fun to check out. And then we do have a partnership with Financial Planning Ministry. So this is a little bit more of a practical step, but we also include kind of the spiritual element of this idea of doing estate planning, that a good man leaves his inheritance to his children's children, and how important that is and how important it is to think ahead. So we're covering that. Then we go into a workshop it's a 4-week workshop called A Roadmap to Retirement, with this idea that they can map out practically what their number might be and what they're shooting for in order to be able to afford the retirement that God's calling them to. But also really covers the spiritual truth that just because you hit a certain age, that your calling on your life doesn't go away. So it hits both elements. The feedback that we've gotten from this workshop here locally has just been awesome. Really, all 3 of them. Then lastly, if you're like, say, step 6 or step 7, we're able to partner with Generous Giving to be able to offer online jogs. Then also, if there's groups in different pockets, depending on where they're at locally, geographically, that we could provide, or Generous Giving could provide facilitators to run real life jogs where you're at. And then we followed up with some jog alumni event type stuff, things to continue the discipleship and activities that center around different elements of generosity once you've got to that step. So those are kind of the courses and classwork element of it. The third feature is the community. There's a generic wide open community that's available to anyone and everyone. And that's a place where if you have a prayer request, if you have a celebration and want to brag on what God has done, if you have a question that you want to ask, that's the place to ask it. Basically, we want to use that community to make sure that everyone knows they're not on that journey alone, and also that they can get agreement around prayer, and that we'll have an actual community. Now, there are also 12 communities that are private. We call them tribes. There's one for each of the 12 tribes of Israel, each of the Israelite tribes. And based on how old you are, whether you have kids or not, married or not, we'll put you in one of the 12 tribes so that you have a group of your peers that you're doing life with. So it's kind of a sub-community, your own tribe. And you get access to these tribes if the Lord would lead you to partner with the ministry. And that's one of the way the ministry is funded, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, is what the ministry is going to do with the funds. But with a financial partnership, that would open up the access to one of the private tribes. And then we feel like between those three features or elements, we can help people to continue to make progress, stay engaged, and actually, accomplish this Great Commission.
Yeah, awesome. So under the private communities, I think you and I were talking about having, you have some kingdom builders, ministry staffers, and coaches and community leaders. Talk about that just briefly.
Yeah, so there are three other private communities. There's one community for what we're calling kingdom builders. You can kind of think about this group as folks that are high net worth folks, business owners, folks that earn quite a bit. And we want to give them a private space because we know life and the challenges they face are pretty unique. And so this is a place where not only they can get together and ask each other questions, encourage each other, and really have somebody they can trust to be open with. But also, this is a group that might, I believe, if we connect them in this way, we'll be able to do some really cool things for the kingdom. So we want to be able to equip them and disciple them.
This episode of the Stewardship Leader podcast is sponsored by Vision 2. Vision 2 is the comprehensive giving solution that enables a ministry-first approach to stewardship and generosity. We engage givers with tailored giving experiences and acknowledgments, elevate ministry with unparalleled efficiency for your support staff, and enable leadership with analytics and reporting tools to support your church and congregation's generosity and stewardship. We're more than software, though. Vision 2 is your partner, an extension of your team throughout our partnership. Reach out to us at letstalk@vision2.com or check out our website at vision2.com to discuss ways we can serve your church.
The other group, the second group that's kind of private, is ministry staffers. So if you kind of think about folks that are on staff at churches or ministries, they might not be, really excited about sharing their financial struggles with the general open community, but it's important that they do. So we wanted to create a separate private space for staffers where we can interact with each other so they can feel comfortable sharing. But also there's just some practical things that only ministry staffers, that really pertain to them. If you're talking like housing allowances and things like that, that really wouldn't make sense for the big community, but makes sense for the ministry staffers potentially. And then the third is an area for coaches or community leaders. Basically, for folks that say, hey, not only do I maybe want to partner with Generous Life, but I want to be involved in these communities. I want to coach and help make sure that people are making progress and getting agreement on their prayers. This is a place where coaches, where we can train up the coaches, where we can provide ongoing training, but also where the coaches can come in and say, hey, someone just asked this question. What do you think is the right response? Or even for the coaches' ability to encourage each other and be in agreement with each other if and when things come up in their lives. So so there's three private communities there for those groups.
Right. So Greg, you mentioned the funding part of the ministry. So talk about what does that funding look like for the ministry that supports all the work, obviously, that goes into maintaining this app and having everything you've talked about.
Yeah. So I always kind of smile when I get to talk about it because this is like totally a God idea. But it's basically what we're doing is a spirit-led, generosity-based revenue model. And what that means is, basically, there are some different giving levels where if you give at a certain level, there's certain perks or accesses and things that open up for you. But we encourage you, don't look at the giving levels first. Go to the Holy Spirit first. Ask the Lord if you're supposed to partner with the ministry. And if so, how much? And then go check out what that opened up for you. So it'll be supported, number one, by the partners with the ministry. The partners are those that become members of the tribe and say, hey, I'm going to agree to pray with the ministry. I'm going to give regularly towards the ministry. And then also, if you feel led, then also maybe become a coach or community leader. So you're kind of giving of your time, your talent, and your treasure and really being a part of this thing. So that's kind of from the partner side. We'll also accept donations from users. So the app is available 100% free of charge. If someone is using the app and just wants to give a one-time gift or even a recurring gift, but they don't want to necessarily feel led to become partners, that's fine too. We also have some trusted vendors that we're partnering with that will be helping contribute financially. And then we're also expecting churches to jump on board as well. We can see this being a discipleship pathway that that churches could roll out and feel like, hey, this is a ministry that we want to support, kind of like as part of your missions budget, that kind of thing. And as far as partnership and whether you're called to partnership, we also include, it's a whole little class on partnership and what the biblical meaning of partnership is. So when people are considering it, the idea is they would really understand what they're agreeing to, what a partnership, according to the Bible, really looks like. And then as far as churches partnering, and if you're a stewardship leader listening to this, you might really enjoy this feature, but we're also going to be sending out kingdom impact reports. And what that is when people join the community, they're going to list what their home church is. And then our idea is part of our training and the discipleship path is obviously tithing and being generous. And then also they'll be able to go ahead and create an estate plan free of charge. And hopefully they're going to be generous towards their home church as well. I imagine they would be. So what we'll be doing quarterly or maybe every 6 months is sending out these kingdom impact reports to the churches, letting them know how much has been given to their church, how much they're going to have in expectancies. And so that you can, on an ongoing basis, kind of see the real life impact that the generous life is actually making for their church specifically. But then we might ask, so how will the funds that come in, how are they going to be used? Well, number one, first and foremost, we believe in the principle of tithing, and we're going to practice that. So the first 10% that comes in, we're going to give right back out to the community, actually. So whether we have widows that are struggling financially, or maybe there's a family that has some unexpected medical bills, we're going to be on the lookout to bless those groups with that first 10% that comes in. Now, then we'll have some operational expenses, of course, but then everything above that, this is really cool. We're gonna actually take all those remaining funds and we're going to go ahead and loan them out to the community as 0% interest loans. And they're going to be basically providing a way for us to have perpetual funding. By that, what I mean is as people receive these 0% loans and they're able to pay off all their debts with the 0% loans, then when they start to repay their loans, we can then reloan those funds back out to another member of the community. And so each month as we go, we should continue to grow and grow and grow. Of course, we don't want people to take advantage. So we have different qualifications to qualify for one of these interest-free loans. Also, the loans are going to be loaned out based off of the votes within the community. So that's going to be a lot of fun too. And then there'll be opportunities to go on site when people receive some of these blessings or receive one of these 0% loans.
I like that. I know you and I talked about this before. The challenge with that is obviously someone taking advantage of it, someone that really is just looking for a handout, not a hand up. And I like that you thought through, like, how do we actually ensure that that is minimized, that it's not a decision that one individual or two or three individuals makes, but it's really something that's kind of almost put up to a vote, so to speak, that there's going to be a community involvement so people can look at it and kind of scrutinize, is this person really ready for an interest loan? Will they be able to handle it? Will they pay it back? Because that is important. You don't want the funds to be misused, given out, and then the person doesn't follow up what they're supposed to do. They're not staying engaged to really benefit long term, because that's really the benefit of it. So I like that you thought through that. Obviously, it's going to be a challenge, right? But I love that you didn't just think, oh, let's just give money away. No, we know that this happens. I mean, human nature is human nature, and people sometimes have their best intention, but then they don't follow through. So having a plan for that is crucial, because that is a major part of what you're talking about, using a lot of the funds outside of the cost of running a ministry to return that back to the members to be able to help them on this discipleship path and financial freedom, it being the ultimate goal. Then yes, obviously you want to use those well. So very good. So let's talk about, who have you partnered with? Who's speaking into the vision of the ministry as of today?
Yeah. So it's been super blessed that we've had several different people from different organizations that I really highly trust and really value their insights and opinion, and really getting feedback on them. But we've partnered with Generous Giving, like I mentioned. So we do have someone from leadership on Generous Giving that's a part of our advisory board. So that's super exciting. So they'll be speaking into that. We have some leadership from Financial Planning Ministry. It's a part of our advisory board too, to kind of help us, with that estate planning side of things. Just recently, this is really exciting to me, we also have partnered with Movement Mortgage. They're mostly known as Movement Mortgage. I don't know if you're familiar with those guys, but they started as a mortgage company. Casey Crawford is the owner, has a huge heart for building the kingdom and for being generous. They've given over $1 billion to kingdom-minded organizations. So they do mortgages. They also have Movement Bank, and they also have Movement Insurance. So they can handle all three of those. They just recently acquired Ron Blue Trust. So long term, we'll probably be able to partner to offer financial planning as well. So everything kind of is kingdom based and generosity based. So we're being very consistent there, which I love. I mentioned MX earlier for our financial tools. We're partnering with them there. And then also we have leadership from CSN as a part of our advisory board too. So that we're super grateful and thankful for that.
Very good. Yeah, awesome. Well, those are definitely trusted individuals, and so I'm glad that you've got some good people on board. People we know, people we also our relationship with, and definitely trust. So, how do you train and support your coaches? You mentioned that you have the community. You have people that will help with the discipleship process. Some people that may work one-on-one or just be part of the leadership community that's going to help people as they engage with this app and engage in that discipleship journey. How do you train them so that they are effective and they can actually help the mission?
Yeah, so we believe getting people started off on the right foot is a big deal. So we have what we call a foundational training, and we kind of would recommend if someone is interested in becoming a coach or community leader, complete that first. And as long as you feel like after you've completed that, hey, I agree with everything that's here, the approach that we're taking to minister to people and help and disciple people, then you could go ahead and take the step forward into coaching. So there's a pretty good size onboarding. That's probably 3 to 4 hour training to lay a strong foundation. And then there's going to be ongoing trainings as we go. And I believe just in the natural course of things, what I've seen here in real life anyway, is that there'll be situations that come up. There'll be great conversation starters for us to be able to talk through. Hey, here's probably a wise way to address the situation, and then we'll all learn through that.
That's good. Yeah, it definitely takes a community. It's not. That's the good thing about having the coaches, that you can actually learn from each other as you're engaging in the community, finding different challenging situations that you can all kind of rally around and figure out, how do we serve this particular individual with this particular situation. So I'm glad that you have some training that you're requiring for them to go through so that you do get everybody on board. I think that's having common language, common process, that's really good. All right, a couple of more questions. One, what's the timeline for beta testing and going live? And then how can we, the network of leaders and the network of churches here at CSN, can help?
Well, thanks for asking that. So right now, we've already begun some beta testing. Within the next week or two, which puts us towards the middle of July, we'll have our volunteers here from Res Life Church in the app and giving feedback and testing out the features and making posts and starting to bring the community and everything alive. So that takes us kind of through the middle of July, starts in the middle of July, takes us through the end of July. And then we are really hoping to be able to launch live here, at least at Res Life, in the middle of August. That's when our first round of classes start. We kind of run in semesters here at Res Life, like the spring and then the fall. So the fall begins kind of our fall semester. And what we're planning to do is to do the entire fall semester all within the app. So we're getting all our coaches and everybody into the app now, trying it out, give us about a month. And then we'll be bringing all the people that are coming to attend the different classes and workshops and things directly to in the app. And then as far as help goes from the CSN community, but I really value everyone's opinion there, whether you're on staff, lay leaders. I would love to have your input, and if you feel led to join in and to be a part of the conversation, and really you have an opportunity to build something from the ground up, to be a part of something I think that's going to make a huge kingdom impact over time, and to really be a part of helping to launch it and being there right when it's being founded and built and being able to speak into that as we go. I would love to have you be a part of it, and I think it could be really special.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I have been on the app now for a while. I've known about it since probably March or so. I know you and I have spoken on and off about it, and I've gone through some of the Kingdom classes that you put together. And you have how many hours of video of teaching on there? It's a lot.
Yeah, I did forget to mention that. Right now, there's well over 140 modules already out in the app right now, and honestly, that would be another potential thing, is if God has put a message on your heart that would help somebody on their discipleship journey, then that's something we could talk about as well. Maybe creating something that could be offered to the community.
Yeah, I thought about that. I mean, we hadn't talked about it, but I think that's one of the benefits of having some unique practitioners, people that are especially connected with CSN, that are already doing some things maybe in their own church that would apply to a more general audience, not just to that specific congregation. And I think enriching the app that way would really be a benefit long term. So I definitely see that as a benefit. I'm glad you're open to that, because I think you have a lot of great content on there. I know it took a lot of time to record that, but that diversity and allowing the app to grow and add those different components, I think is going to enrich it. So let me say this as we close. I am very impressed with the app so far. I mean, you have done a lot of work to build it. I know it's just beta testing. I know it's just kind of starting, but a lot of work, a year and a half's worth of work has gone into it. Those videos, that was a lot of recording and putting it the content together and doing all that. I know it goes into that, and that's a lot of work. So I think when people take a look at it, they can very easily see that a lot of work is already gone into it. Obviously, there's some pieces that have to be built, especially the community part, which really I think is one of the main features of the app. You really want people to be in community so that they're going through this discipleship process, and hopefully at the end of that, they're engaging in generosity efforts and projects and things that are moving the needle, so to speak, in fulfilling the Great Commission. So I love the vision behind it. Again, I'm impressed with the app. I do encourage anyone that's listening, if you're coming across this, whether it's as soon as we launch it here in a couple of weeks, or maybe a year from now, maybe it's 2026, 25, I don't know. But you come across this and you're thinking, wow, I've not heard of this app and I want to know what it's about. So you can go to generouslifeapp.com, or you can just go to either the Apple or Google store and download this app. As Greg said, it's a free app. You can use it. If you decide to become a partner, all that information is there, and you check it out. I think it's going to be an app that has great potential, and the more people go into it, the more people engage with it, the more successful it'll be, the more impact it'll have. So I do hope you'll check it out. If you're part of our CSN community and network of churches, we would love for you to join this group that is just, again, beta testing it and giving Greg and his team the feedback they need to make this better and to continue to improve it and make it successful. We would really love for you to be part of that, because it does have the potential to go beyond the church walls, and I think that's very exciting. Any last words, Greg, as we finish up here today?
Yeah, I would just say I'm super grateful for the time to be able to share about this, and I'm super excited for what God's going to do through it. And yeah, just looking forward to who God calls to become partner and be a part of building this thing, and just seeing what God will do with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you again for having me.
Of course, my pleasure. And I'm excited just because I know this is not something, to you, this is something that is a part of your calling, something you're trying to do that is a tremendous amount of work, but it's a labor of love. And I definitely know that about not just about this project, but just your general overall perspective on why you do what you do, what God's called you to do. So I'm grateful for you and for the work you're putting into it. Let me just say, for those that are listening, we are so appreciative of you joining us for this conversation. We hope that you learned something about a potential resource that you will benefit from, whether you listen to this soon or down the road sometime. Definitely check it out. Again, you can go to generouslifeapp.com, or you can download the app either on the Apple or Google store. And again, thank you for joining us. If you want to know more about Res Life, you can go to reslife.com. You can learn about their stewardship program. Of course, the app is part of that. And we're looking forward to see how that develops within the walls of the church. I'm really interested to see how that's going to work. Also, if you want to know more about us, Christian Stewardship Network, you can find out about us, what we do, who we are, how we might come alongside you and help you in your stewardship and generosity efforts by going to christianstewardshipnetwork.com. We look forward to seeing you next time on Stewardship Leader.